The Chicago Bears are not asking for respect anymore. They are taking it. Something shifted in Chicago this offseason. Quietly, deliberately, and with a precision that most NFL teams simply do not operate with. Ben Johnson did not walk into Hollis Hall to rebuild. He walked in to build something the league has not seen from this franchise in a long time, and the pieces he now has around him are starting to look frighteningly good. Caleb Williams is no longer a question mark. Year one was a learning curve inside a system that was not fully his yet. Year two is different. The weapons are real, the scheme fits him, and the front office spent this entire offseason making sure the infrastructure around him is built to win now, not 3 years from now. The Bears ran the ball. They protected the ball. They moved the ball in stretches that made you stop and look twice. And none of that was an accident. Johnson designed this offense around one idea, that when everything is clicking, you simply cannot stop it. But here's what makes this video worth your full attention. The offense is only half the story. The Bears made moves this offseason on the defensive side that most analysts glossed right over. Moves that directly address the one specific weakness that quietly undermined this team all through the 2025 season. Nobody picked it up. Nobody put the data together. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that is exactly where we are going next. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Bears and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 350 likes on this video. 74%. That is how often the Chicago Bears played nickel defense in 2025. Not occasionally. Not as a change of pace. 74% of the time, that was the package on the field. And in that exact package, the one they ran more than any other, they were getting carved up. The data does not lie. On an EPA per play basis, the Bears' nickel defense was operating in the red, while their base and dime packages were actually performing fine. The problem was not the whole defense. It was one specific, repeatable situation that kept showing up every single week. Here is what made it so damaging. EPA stands for expected points added, and it measures defensive efficiency on a per-play basis. When a defense runs negative EPA numbers in their primary package, the one they use nearly 3/4 of the time, that is not a bad week. That is a structural problem. The Bears were surviving on turnover luck in 2025. High takeaway numbers masked the real damage happening underneath the surface. But turnovers are not a strategy. Some years, the ball bounces your way. Some years, it does not. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson both understood that banking on that same luck again in 2026 was not a plan. It was a gamble. What made this problem so specific and so solvable was where it came from. The defensive tackles were not the issue. The edge rushers were not the issue. Jalen Johnson on the outside was not the issue. The moment that fifth defensive back stepped onto the field in the nickel package, the unit lost its teeth. That pointed directly at one position group, the safeties. And once you identify the source of the leak that clearly, the next question is simple. Who do you bring in to fix it? The answer Ryan Poles found was smarter than anything most people expected, and it did not cost a single draft pick. The Buffalo Bills ran nickel defense 62% of the time in 2025. In that package, they were green across the board. Efficient, disciplined, hard to move. Cam Lewis was in the middle of that secondary every single week, operating inside a scheme that demanded exactly what the Bears needed most. Ryan Poles did not call his agent because of highlight plays or Pro Bowl nominations. He called because the numbers matched. Lewis was not the biggest name in free agency this offseason. He was the right name, and that distinction matters more than most fans realize. Then came Kobe Bryant. The Seattle Seahawks defense in 2025 was elite in almost every package they played, and their nickel numbers were among the best in the entire league. Bryant spent years inside a Seattle system built around versatile, instinctive safeties who could process the game fast and still hit. He brings that exact DNA to Chicago now. Two safeties, two different teams, both coming from defenses that excelled in the one specific package the Bears were failing at. That kind of targeting does not happen by accident. That is a front office that did its homework. There's a lesson buried inside this that goes beyond the Bears. A linebacker named Jamie Collins once dominated in New England, struggled badly in Cleveland, then returned to New England and dominated again. Same player. Two completely different results. The scheme was the variable the entire time. Poles understood that lesson and applied it in reverse. He did not just find good safeties. He found safeties already proven inside the exact defensive structure Chicago runs. Jaquan Brisker was let go, not because he lacked talent, but because he did not fit what this defense needed in that nickel package. Fit beat, reputation, scheme beat star power, and the Bears quietly upgraded the most exploited position on their entire roster before the draft even opened. But fixing the safety position was only one part of the offseason plan. Cayante Scott visited Hollis Hall for a top 30 visit, and the moment that news dropped, every Bears fan paying attention stopped scrolling. This is a defensive back out of Miami who does not fit neatly into any one box, and that is exactly what makes him dangerous. He led the entire NCAA in blitz frequency and pressure rate among defensive backs, not just among corners, among every defensive back in college football. 2 interceptions in 2025, and both of them went to the house. 13 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. A 4.34 40 at his pro day after an injury kept him off the combine track. The size is listed as undersized at 5'10", but the tape tells a completely different story. What makes Scott uniquely perfect for this Bears defense is not just what he does. It is what he allows others to do. Kyler Gordon has been one of the more versatile defensive backs in Chicago for 2 seasons now, and the coaching staff has openly discussed shifting him towards safety. The problem was always who steps into the slot if Gordon moves. Cayante Scott answers that question directly. He earned the nickname Scott the Slot at Miami because the slot was where he lived and where he dominated. Bring him in, let him own that position, and Gordon moves to safety without the defense missing a beat. One pick solves 2 problems at the same time. He also gutted out a significant foot injury in November of his final college season and kept playing at an elite level through a national championship run with the Miami Hurricanes. That tells you something about his makeup that no testing number captures. The Saints, the Steelers, the Dolphins, and the Texans have all shown serious interest. This is not a hidden gem sitting untouched. The Bears are competing for him, and if they land him somewhere in the second round, the secondary transformation in Chicago becomes something the rest of the NFC North genuinely has to game plan for. And that is before we even get to the draft board itself. 7 weeks. That is all the time left on the clock for the state of Illinois to get its act together before the Chicago Bears walk out the door for good. The May 31st end of the spring legislative session is not a soft deadline. It is the line. Kevin Warren said it himself at the owners' meetings. Late spring, early summer, the Bears plan to have a decision locked in on where their next stadium will be built. That window in the Illinois legislative session and at the exact same time. That is not a coincidence. That is a warning. Here's where the pressure is coming from. A key House committee passed the proposed bill back in February, but it has not yet reached the unofficial 60-vote threshold that Illinois Speaker Emanuel Welch requires before bringing it to a full floor vote. What the Bears need from this bill is tax certainty, the ability to negotiate local tax rates so they can finance and build a $5 billion dome stadium on land they already own in Arlington Heights. They are putting up the private money. They are not asking Illinois to hand them a stadium. They are asking for a framework that makes financing possible. Indiana said yes to a comparable arrangement in a matter of months. Illinois has been stalling for years. The math on both sides is real. Arlington Heights gives the Bears over 300 acres of owned land, room for hotels, restaurants, entertainment, and a true destination district around the stadium. Hammond, Indiana is actually closer to downtown Chicago than Arlington Heights is, and the state there has already been a willing partner from day one. George McCaskey wants to keep this franchise in Illinois. Nobody doubts that. But wanting to stay and waiting forever are two different things, and the Bears have already proven they are done waiting. Whatever Illinois decides in the next 7 weeks will shape this franchise for the next 50 years. And while that decision hangs in the air, the NFL draft is arriving anyway, and Chicago has serious business to handle on that front too. Pick 25 arrives, and the board does something unexpected. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo, is still sitting there. Most projections have him gone somewhere between picks 18 and 22. In this scenario, he falls. Chupu and Chicago does not hesitate. 9 career forced fumbles. A violent, physical presence who attacks the run and the pass with equal aggression. Daniel Jeremiah has him inside his top 20. The Bears take him and solve their last remaining starting hole in the secondary before day one of the draft even ends. The value at 25 is almost uncomfortable. Round 2, pick 57, and the focus shifts to the trenches. Derek Moore out of Michigan comes off the board for Chicago. He ranks inside the top 8 in sack production in Michigan Wolverines history. Long arms, a relentless motor, and a pass rush arsenal that kept getting sharper from 2024 to 2025. He sets the edge in the run game and pushes for double-digit sacks down the road. A trade back from pick 60 to 75 adds 2 extra third-round selections, and at 75, the Bears land Grayson Halton from Oklahoma, a defensive tackle who fits the Dennis Allen mold in both measurements and production with 8.5 sacks over his last 2 college seasons. Pick 89 brings Malik Muhammad from Texas, a long and physical corner who graded out well in coverage and brings legitimate competition opposite Jalen Johnson. Another trade turns 94 into picks, 107 and 149. Logan Jones, the center out of Iowa, arrives in the 4th round as a developmental piece behind Garrett Bradbury. J.C. Davis from Illinois comes in the 5th as a tackle and guard hybrid with starting potential. 3 7th-round flyers close the board. 9 picks. Every single one connected to a real need. No reaches, no panic moves. Just a front office that walked into draft night with a plan and executed it cleanly. But while the draft adds to this roster, it is also about to threaten the jobs of players already wearing Bears uniforms. The NFL draft does not just build rosters, it ends careers and shrinks roles. And 5 players in Chicago right now have every reason to watch that draft board with serious nerves. Tyreek Stevenson is first. He is in the final year of his rookie contract with no extension in sight, and the tape has been inconsistent enough that the front office has not committed to him long term. He is currently the favorite to start at corner 2, opposite Jalen Johnson. But the moment Chicago spends a 1st or 2nd round pick on an outside corner, that competition flips. His flashes are real. His consistency has not been. This draft decides whether he fights for a starting role or fights to stay on the roster. Braxton Jones resigned with the Bears to rebuild his value, but the front office has taken top 30 visits with Caden Proctor, Max Ahinachor, and Caleb Lomu. That level of attention at the tackle position in round 1 means something. A 1st-round tackle pick likely enters camp as the favorite to start, not Jones. TJ Edwards has 2 years left on his deal, but this defense is chasing speed and coverage range at linebacker, which is exactly what Devin Bush and DeMarco Jackson were brought in to provide. If Chicago adds a linebacker in the first 2 days of the draft, Edwards becomes tradable. Moving him saves $6 million and clears space for youth. Cole Kmet has not been extended yet. And if the Bears draft a tight end early, his long-term runway in Chicago shortens fast. The DJ Moore and Luther Burden parallel is impossible to ignore. DeAndre Swift is likely in his final season with the Bears regardless. But if Chicago drafts Jadarian Price or Mike Washington Jr. in the first 3 rounds, his role shrinks immediately and his trade value becomes a real conversation before the season even starts. 5 players, 5 pressure situations, in one draft weekend that changes everything for all of them. There's a version of the Chicago Bears that exists right now, on paper, before a single draft pick is made, that is already meaningfully better than the team that played in 2025. That is not hype. That is the result of a front office that spent this entire offseason solving specific problems with specific answers, instead of throwing money at big names and hoping for the best. The foundation is real, the direction is clear, and the NFL draft is the final piece that either accelerates everything or exposes what still needs work. Caleb Williams is walking into year 2 with a defense that no longer leaks through its primary package, weapons that fit the system, and a head coach in Ben Johnson who has earned the trust of everyone in that building. The NFC North is not soft. The Detroit Lions set the standard for this division, and they did it fast. But Chicago is not chasing Detroit anymore. They are building something parallel, something with its own identity. And the gap between these two teams closed significantly this offseason, whether the national media noticed or not. 4 picks in the top 89 give the Bears the ammunition to add starting caliber talent on both sides of the ball in a single weekend. The stadium situation adds another layer to all of it. Where this franchise plays in 5 years will shape everything, from revenue to recruiting free agents to the long-term vision George McCaskey is trying to leave behind. The draft answers football questions. The Illinois legislature answers generational ones. Both timelines are colliding right now in the same 7-week window. What happens next in Chicago is genuinely worth watching, not because this team is a feel-good story, but because all the ingredients for something serious are sitting right there in front of them. The Bears are not hoping anymore. They are building, and the rest of the NFC North is starting to notice.